Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome to the viewers of Features of Islam. A'udhu billahi as-samil alim min ash-shaytanir rajim min hamzihi wa nafthihi wa nafsihi bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. The companions of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, are praised by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran. Kuntum khayra ummatin ukhrijat lin-nasi ta'muruna bil ma'rufi wa tanhauna 'anil munkari wa tu'minuna billahi. That you are the best people evolved for mankind. You ask for good deeds, prevent from bad deeds, and you believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because they adhered to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, by sacrificing their wealth, lives, and they work hard to learn and teach Quran and practice Islam. Surah Al-Imran, verse number 110. Hazrat Abdullah Ibne Hudhafa as-Sahmi, may Allah be pleased with him, was the companion of Islamic Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Islam gave him the opportunity to meet two strongest rulers of his time, Khusro Parvez, the king of Persia, and Hercules, the Byzantine emperor. The story of his encounter with Khusro Parvez began in the 6th year of Hijrah, when the Prophet decided to send some of his companions for the rulers outside for inviting them to Islam. These messengers were going to distant lands where there was no agreement or treaty. They do not know the languages of these lands, and they do not know the ways and nature of rulers of those areas. They were to invite these rulers to give up their religion and forsake their power and glory, and to enter the religion of a people who were shortly before their subjects. The mission was undoubtedly hazardous. The Prophet commissioned 6 of his companions to carry his letters to Arab and foreign rulers. Abdullah Ibne Hudhafa was one of them. He was chosen to take letter of the Prophet to Khusro Parvez, the king of Persia. Abdullah Ibne Hudhafa got his camel ready and wished farewell to his wife and children. He set out alone, crossed valleys and mountains until he reached the land of Persia. Abdullah sought permission to enter into the king's presence by informing his guards about the letter he was carrying. Khusro Parvez, king of Persia, ordered thereupon to make ready his chamber of audience, and he also summoned his prominent translator. When they had assembled, he gave permission for Abdullah to enter. Abdullah entered and saw the Persian king dressed in delicate flowing robes and wearing a great neatly arranged turban. On the other hand, Abdullah was wearing plain rough clothes of the Bedouin. His head though was big, held high, and his feet were firm. The honor of Islam burned fiercely in his chest, and the power of faith fluctuated in his heart. As soon as the Khusro saw Abdullah approaching him, he asked one of his men to take the letter from the hand of Abdullah Ibne Hudhafa. Abdullah Ibne Hudhafa said, "No, the Prophet asked me to send this letter directly to you, so I cannot go against the command of Messenger of the God. Let him come near to me." Khusro said to his guard. Abdullah came near to Khusro Parvez and handed over the letter directly. Then he asked to his translator to open the letter in his presence and read the text. The translator started reading. "In the name of Allah, the Beneficent and Merciful, from the Messenger of God to Khusro Parvez, the king of Persia, peace on whoever follow the guidance." Khusro only heard this much when the fire of anger burst within him. His face became red and he felt anxiety. He snatched the letter from the translator and began tearing it into pieces without knowing that what else is contained in the letter. He shouted, "Does he dare to write to me like this, he who is my slave?" He was angry on the Prophet that he has not given him precedence in his letter. He then commanded Abdullah Ibne Hudhafa to be expelled from his assembly. Abdullah was taken away, not knowing that what would happen to him. Either he will be killed or he will be set free. But he did not wait to find out. He said to himself, I don't care what would happen to me. I have given the message of messenger of God to the enemy of God, and he have seen that what he has done with the letter of messenger of God. He managed to get to his camel and rode off. When the anger of Khusro Parvez subsided, he ordered to brought Abdullah Ibne Hudhafa back. They searched for him all the way to Arabian route, but found that he had gone ahead. Back to Medina, Abdullah ibn Hudhafa told the Prophet that what Khusro Parvez has done and how he's torn up his letter into pieces. And the Prophet's only reply was, May Allah tear up his kingdom. Meanwhile, Khusro Parvez wrote to his deputy Badan in Yemen that sent 2 strong men to the person who has appeared in the Hijaz with orders to bring him to Persia. Badan sent 2 of his strongest men to the Prophet and gave them a letter to him in which he was ordered to go with them to meet Khusro without delay. Badan also asked them to get as much as information about the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. The men set out quickly. At Taif they met some Quraysh traders. They asked about the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. The traders said that he is in Yasrib. The Quraysh traders went to Makkah feeling extremely happy. They was happy because Khusro Parvez has become an enemy of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and they went around telling other Quraysh. The 2 men meanwhile went straight to Medina and met the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. They handed over the letter to him that Badan has given, and they said, the king of kings Khusro Parvez has written to their ruler Badan to send us to get you. If you come willingly, Khusro has said that it will be good for you, he will spare you, and if you will refuse, you will know the power of his punishment. He has the power to destroy you and your people. The Prophet smiled and said to them that go back to your stay and come tomorrow. On the following day, they came again and asked the Prophet that are you prepared to go with us to meet Khusro? You shall not meet again Khusro after today. God has killed him and his son Shirviya has taken his place on such a night and such a month. Do you know what you are saying? Shall we write this to Badan? Yes, replied the Prophet, and say him that my religion has informed me about what has happened with Khusro's kingdom, and that if he became Muslim, I would appoint him a ruler over what he now controls. 2 men returned to Yemen and they told Badan what had happened. Badan said that if it is true what Muhammad has said, then he is a prophet, and if it is not, then we will see what will happen with him. After a few days, he received a letter from Shirviya in which he said that I have killed Khusro because of his cruelty against our people. And as soon as this letter reaches you, take loyalty of whoever with you on my behalf. As soon as Badan has read the letter of Shirviya, he threw it aside and announced his entry into Islam. All the Persians in Yemen with him also became Muslim. His meeting with the Byzantine emperor took place during the regime of Umar ibn Khattab. In the 19th year of Hijrah, Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, sent an army to fight with Byzantine. News of the Muslim force reached the emperor. He had already heard about their sincerity and faith and their willingness to sacrifice their lives in the way of God and the Prophet. He asked his troops to bring any Muslim captive that they might take alive. Abdullah ibn Hudhafa was caught and brought before the emperor. The emperor attempted to convert him to Christianity. He said, I propose if you become Christian, you will be set free. The prisoner's reaction was furious. He said that death is more preferable to me 1,000 times than to what you ask me to do. Then the emperor made another proposal that you are a bold man, and if you agree with my proposal, then I will give you a share in my authority. The prisoner, constrained in his chains, smiled and said, by God, if you give everything that you possess and everything that Arabs have in exchange of giving up the religion of Muhammad, peace be upon him, I shall not do so. Then, as an other attempt, the emperor sent a prostitute in his cell, but his faith in Islam led him to run around in his cell and get away from the woman. She eventually grew bored and gave up. Hercules then attempted to scare him and said that I will kill you. Abdullah said, do whatever you want. Then the emperor ordered his soldiers to shoot arrows on Abdullah Ibne Hudhafa, but don't hit him. He remained fearless because he was having firm belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Islam. The emperor then called for a great pot to bring in. This was filled with oil that was heated under a fierce fire. Then he asked to bring in 2 Muslim prisoners, and one of them was thrown into the boiling oil. Soon his flesh sizzled and his bones could be seen. The emperor turned to Abdullah and again invited him to Christianity. This was the most terrible test that Abdullah had faced up till now. But he remained firm in his belief, and the emperor ordered to throw him into the hot oil. As he was being taken away, he started weeping. The emperor thought that ultimately he has been broken down, and he asked to bring him back to him. The emperor once again invited him to Christianity, but to his astonishment, Abdullah refused again. Why did you weep then? The king shouted. Abdullah said that I cried because I have only one soul, and as you will throw me into the oil that will depart. On the other hand, I wish that I may have as many souls as hair on my body, and to have thrown all of them in the oil for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The emperor suddenly asked that, will you kiss my head? Then I will set you free. Abdullah asked, and what will happen to the other prisoners? The emperor agreed that I will also set them free. Then Abdullah thought that there is no harm to kiss the head of enemy of God, and he set free me and all other Muslim prisoners. There is no harm in that. So he got up to the emperor and kissed his forehead. The emperor released all the Muslim prisoners and handed over to Abdullah. Abdullah Ibne Hudhafa eventually came to Umar ibn Khattab and told him what had happened. Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, was very happy when he saw the prisoners, and he said that every Muslim has a duty to kiss the head of Abdullah ibn Hudhafa, and I will start first. Then Umar got up and kissed the head of Abdullah ibn Hudhafa. Abdullah ibn Hudhafa died in 653 in Egypt, 33rd year of Hijrah, during the Khilafat of Usman Ghani. May Allah be pleased with him. Wama alayna illa al-balagul mubin. If you like this video, please click on the like button, share the video, and subscribe to the channel to have upcoming videos. And if you have any questions, you can ask in the comment section.